Great. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Multnomah Neighborhood Association's June 2024 regular meeting. It's Tuesday, June 11th at 7:02 p.m. on a beautiful Tuesday evening. We have a full agenda today. We have 7 people here in person at Riversgate, 13 online via our Zoom link. Copies of the agenda are here available. Also, there's some information on the Nevada Court water tower that is available here if anybody would like to take a look at that. If you're online, you can, Will, if you wouldn't mind, could you mind dropping a link to the meeting minutes folder into the chat? And that way everybody can get the materials from there. In the public meeting folder, we have the minutes of last meeting. We also have the agenda for this meeting. And we also have the motions that have been that will be discussed under new business, one from the Public Safety Committee, one from the Governance Committee. And assorted other notices and updates and letters. So I do encourage you, if you're online, go check out that public folder and get some of those materials because it relates to some of the things that we'll be talking about tonight. Let's get right to it. Let me pull my notes real quick so I can get to the first part of this agenda. Okay, so let me give everybody some very quick background on the very first topic that we have. The first topic is the creation of a Multnomah Neighborhood Association, Multnomah Safe Rest Village Community Advisory Committee. Now, when I speak about this committee, I'm going to be speaking in 2 types of committees. One is going to be an external Community Advisory Committee, or the acronym CAC. So that would be an external one, and then there will be an internal one, and I'll expand. The external one is one that has been set up due to the terms of the Good Neighbor Agreement that the Neighborhood Association has signed with the city and that has signed with the service operators over there at the Safe Rest Village on the Old Armory. And also JOHS is one of the Joint Offices of Homeless Services is one of the signers on this Good Neighbor Agreement. And the purpose of the Good Neighbor Agreement is to set up ground rules and communication pathways with all of the stakeholders to be able to mitigate some of these issues that could potentially come up with the current expansion from 30 to 100 pods. Homes, mini homes on the site. So I'm pleased to say that the Good Neighbor Agreement has been signed by all the parties except for the Multnomah Neighborhood Association, which was given permission by its board to sign it last month, and West Hills Christian School. So they are the 2 remaining people to sign it. But once it is signed, it's in force. And finally, we have a Good Neighbor Agreement that establishes communication pathways for the neighborhood to be able to talk directly to the city representatives and directly to the service operators about challenges that come up with the Good Neighbor Agreement, or with the Safe Rest Village. Okay, so you have the Good Neighbor Agreement's Community Advisory Committee. Part of that. As part of that, we negotiated 4 seats on this committee for M&A representation. 1 seat is for the city, 1 seat is JOHS, 1 seat has, there's 2 representatives from West Hill Christian School, and there are 4 representatives from the Multnomah Neighborhood Association, with the requirement that 2 of those members of that external CAC live within a quarter mile of the adjacent property. The adjacent property owners or adjacent that live nearby the Safe Rest Village within a quarter mile. And so we recently over the last 10 days, 20 days, sent out a request, a letter of interest to asking people that would want to serve on that community advisory committee, that external community advisory committee. And from that, you know what? I've got some amazing neighbors. I just have to say that right now. Everyone that put in a letter of interest is very qualified, not just from a desire to work within the MSRV or to work within the community, you know, with our community to try to mitigate any of these things, the responsibilities of the CAC, but just the backgrounds and, you know, the roles that they play in society and in their life and in their professional careers. So I'm really pleased and I'm really honored that we had such a good variety of applicants. So what we have done then is that I've gone ahead and appointed in consultation with consultation and consensus with the folks that created the Good Neighbor Agreement representing our neighborhood, what we called the negotiation team. I worked with them and I worked with the current members of the Community Advisory Committee that we have and to go through the applicants and to review them and to talk about everything and to help me make my decision on who we are going to appoint. So I'm really pleased to announce that, and I have reached out to everyone ahead of time. I'm really pleased to announce that we have our 4 members that will be on the committee. Lisa Carney Fenton, Mark Booth, Mary Knox, and Paloma, oh, I knew I was going to mess this up. Paloma Norris York is her name. And so I just want to thank all 4 of them for representing our neighborhood in this role. The first meeting of this new, the first meeting of this external community advisory committee will be in July. We still have to sign it and it'll be happening this week. And then once we have it, then there'll be a poll that will go out. The city said that they would send out a poll to find good times for the new membership of the CAC to be able to meet. Because I know that Lisa, like for instance, you work during the day. And so let's try to find some times that can accommodate, not all of us are retired, you know, some of us have things to do during the day. So I'm sure we'll be able to find out some good times on that. But point being is that we have those members, those 4 folks that have stepped up to help. And so thank you for that. So that is part of the external, that's part of the external community advisory committee. Now we needed to create some sort of an internal tracking process for it. And so what I've done is I've created a work group, community advisory committee, an internal one for the neighborhood association. And so what will happen is that after the external group of 4 meet with their compatriots there, they can let the rest of the committee know about what's going on so that they can let the board know and make a board report each and every month. And I've asked Will, and he has accepted, Will Fuller, to be the board representative in that group. And so he'll be able to facilitate that communication, answer questions, because he's been working very diligently on the Community Advisory Committee currently. And so he kind of knows the lay of the land, and he's going to help us facilitate those communications back to the board and to the membership here at our regular meetings each and every month. So we can kind of start keeping track of, were there concerns this month? Were there not concerns this month? What were those concerns? And we can start to get some data points, it seems to me. We want to collect information here as much as we want to help facilitate and mitigate concerns. You know, so I'm really excited about it. And so thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mary Knox. And thank you, Paloma, for stepping up and volunteering. And yeah, that's where we'll go from here.
Moses, it's Beth here.
Okay, yes, Beth, here, wait a second. I had somebody, just a moment, somebody call here at the meeting, the physical meeting. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Me or them?
The external CAC reports to the internal CAC, and the internal CAC reports to the board. And nobody in the internal CAC is on the external CAC.
actually, no one.
Yeah.
No, and I don't mean to be confusing here, but the internal one is just a committee that would have for the neighborhood association. It can have anybody on it. And by default, we would have the 4 people that are on the external one. So we can have in the smaller committee, in the internal committee, as many people who want to participate to give their thoughts. But ultimately, I agreed. And all of this, quite honestly, Mary, is up for refinement, and I do want to emphasize that I'm not stuck on any structure that we have here. If there's more efficient ways for us to do this, to accomplish this in the future, let's work on them. Okay, so now let me take it back to the virtual meeting. Peter has his hand up, and I know that Beth wanted to say something too. Go ahead, Beth. Or go ahead,
Oh,
Peter.
me?
Perhaps you should explain, Moses, how we set up the internal CAC. And it's because, briefly, it's because we had so many wonderful applicants who were willing to step up and serve on the CAC, that we decided we should capitalize on their interest and their expertise, aside from just the 4 members that were built into the GNA.
May I speak to this? What happened?
We can hear you.
We're live. Hello?
Yeah, we hear you, Beth.
Oh, I didn't know if it was my turn to speak, or if you all
Oh,
heard
please.
me. We got a little disconnected there for a minute.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I'm concerned that the more committees we have, that it appears, and the more closely we get connected with the SRV, it appears that the M&A has endorsed the SRV and supports the SRV. And I don't really think it would be wise for us to have an internal committee. I think we could ask the external committee or the GNA, the CAC committee, just to report to us each month.
I hear you. And,
that's how
as I say, I
yeah,
agree.
we need to remain neutral.
I think the question is by creating an internal committee, would that make us not neutral? And I might push back a little bit on that, in this fact that, what we're trying to do is just trying to have pathways of information and making sure that the board can acquire the information. I'm game to adapt it and change it and even dissolve this new committee a little bit later. But I think that the time being, we worked on it and we got consensus from everybody on the negotiating team and on the current CAC to do this type of a format for it. So
Yeah, but those are people who are very close to it and understand the nuances of, the problems and all of that. But I'm concerned about the appearance of the MNA generally across our whole neighborhood association, geographical boundaries, appearing to support the SRV.
I understand. I appreciate your point. Very good. Are there any other thoughts about what we've shared
I just have
here?
a question. What is the role of the internal then? If we took all this time and energy to create an external, what would be a part of that meeting with
Well,
the
the internal,
what's the internal doing again?
yeah, the biggest concern was that we wanted to make sure that there was information was getting to the board about, and information was being gathered, and that the board was made aware of the activities. In turn, everyone else is aware of the activities of the CAC, of the external CAC. Also, another factor because of this was that we had such good quality applicants. I felt like we needed to be able to involve them even beyond the external the appointments of the external seats, those 4 seats. And so this way, by having the separate committee, they still can be involved and not necessarily not at the stakeholder meeting, not at the main meeting, but in a way they can also report to you as well as a member of that external one. They can share with you things that they have heard. And that's how we push it up for you to be able to then in turn present it at that main meeting. That's my thinking here. And as I say, if we can try it, test run it for a month or 2, we can always change it if we're finding that it's bottlenecking too much information or if it's an unnecessary layer of
Committee.
red tape. Yeah, and we can change on a dime very easily if need be. But I just need to, I'm just setting it up in this structure at the time being, and let's see how it works. If it's not working after 2 months, let's make some changes to it. Is that fair? Okay. All right, but duly noted, Beth, and duly noted, Lisa, very much so. And so keep me aware and keep me in the room with that. Okay, so we have those appointments. I think I've described, I apologize for all the minutiae when it came to this CAC. Fundamentally, the big announcement is that we got our 4 people and that the community, we can start getting to work and they can start getting to work as far as pushing up these concerns up to the stakeholders, to the city, to the service operators. And now we have this, because of the GNA, we have this direct communication line with the players, with the stakeholders, where we just didn't have that before. So I'm very excited about that. I'm looking forward to the work that the committee does. So good. We'll be talking about this. Okay. Hey, next up. This is all under the category of M&A development. I started to bore you all at the very beginning here. But there is a big transportation forum coming up on June 24th in regards to the Alpenrose property and the Alpenrose development. As those of you that are mostly longtime residents here know, that beautiful facility is being turned into condos. They put up a parking lot, damn it. I think that's how that song goes. But the point is that our neighbors over there at Hayhurst are very concerned and want to, want to make sure that the transportation needs there on Shattuck Road, for instance, which is right now a 2-lane highway, a 2-lane street, can support another 400 homes being put in. As it is right now, it just can't, so there's some real concerns over there. So I do want to encourage folks that have interest in those issues to attend that forum on the 24th, and it'll be at Hayhurst Elementary. And there's a folder in the public folder. There's a flyer for it. Next up, D&O and board liability insurance. This is office keeping stuff. We have put in our applications. Okay, let me back up. We would, as neighborhood associations, we would get our insurance through our district coalition partner. For years, that district coalition partner was Sweeney, Southwest Neighborhoods. They unfortunately fell out of favor, got defunded. For a while there, we didn't have a district coalition partner. But now, because of the new form of government, they've empowered Neighbors West Northwest, the district coalition partner for the northwest side of Portland, to take on the responsibility of being our district coalition partner for all of Southwest. So now they are taking, instead of 11, they have 34 neighborhoods that they are working with. So one of those things that they take care of is insurance. And so we have D&O insurance, which is directors and officers insurance. And so the folks like myself, don't get sued, or if we do get sued, we have insurance for it. And then the board liability insurance is in relation to the board members that we have, and also liability insurance for actual events. Like when we do an event, we have to be covered for that, in case something, it's just fundamental stuff. All of those papers have been submitted to the insurance agent that has been used or identified by the new Neighbors West Northwest, the new District 4 coalition partner. And so we're covered. Long story short, we have insurance. All right.
When
so
does that
that
start,
is good.
that insurance? You know
It
when
started when I submitted the application.
I think it starts July 1st. There was a lot of conversation about
You may,
that.
well, see, that's right. You were talking, yeah. And interestingly enough, that next topic on the agenda relates to Beth being appointed to be the representative for neighborhood association, our neighborhood association, to the new district coalition. So Beth, you probably do know. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of conversation because one of our Southwest neighborhood associations likes to have a July 4th event, and they were quite concerned about whether the insurance would cover them or not. And that got kind of murky, but apparently for sure it starts July 1st. So I think we're not covered until then.
Sounds good. But that means that we're then, okay, that makes sense. I hear you. We have our old insurance policy up until that point, because I know that we had that. Okay. We'll circle back around on that one too, Beth. I want to talk to you about that one.
Okay, great.
So, yeah. Okay, so that's it on M&A development. Okay. I was, where am I at here? Okay. I'm using a new format kind of here today. What we're going to do next is we're going to go into officer and committee reports. And real quickly, I'd like to do the officer reports. I do not have anything to report because just for the sake of brevity, my vice president, Beth Omansky, do you have anything that you would like to report?
Yes, and I can be very brief about it since I submitted a written report to you all. Jane Green and I met with Nasser, I think his name is pronounced Icy, so I'm not positive. I'm sorry about that, at Stevens Creek Crossing to let them know we're here and we appreciate them being our neighbors and invite their residents to participate in our activities. And we had spent an hour with him. It was a wonderful conversation. And near that, which was very nice of him because he's busy doing a bazillion different jobs there with job cuts and all. But near the end of the conversation, he said that they had a garden at the Stevens Creek that had gone fallow, and he would be interested in getting that restarted because he would like the children in the complex, since it's a family complex, to learn where their food came from. So I said I thought that might be a nice project for us to participate with them in. And I have no more information about that yet this month. I made some suggestions to him about that we work on growing herbs and vegetables that are indigenous to their cuisines. And so I'm waiting to hear back from him, but that's where we're at with them. It was just a really wonderful meeting. And that was the last meeting that Jane Green will participate in as a member of MNA.
That's too bad. Well, thank you for that, Beth. I appreciate it very much. Good opportunity going over there at Stevens Creek. And I know that also then when it comes to we have our dumpster day coming up over there at Stevens Creek, but I'll leave that one for the community events and livability to talk about. Peter and then Penny.
They're working on with two different groups than what we're involved with. We're working with Home Forward and they're working with Neighborhood House, I believe.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Peter and then Penny.
Yeah, hi Beth. I'm so glad you and Jane were able to connect with Home Forward. It's been years that we've been working on trying to connect with them, and it's it's a challenge because they don't have anyone on site there. But here's my question.
Actually, he is on site there.
Oh, he is. Oh, great. Okay. So here's my question. What initially prompted us to get in touch with Stevens Creek Crossing is a rumor. We don't know whether it's founded or unfounded, but a rumor that so many cars are parked on California Street up above Stevens Creek Crossing, unlicensed or with expired tags.
He
And
brought that up.
we understood that they were there because there was a regulation at Stevens Creek Crossing that unlicensed or improperly licensed vehicles could not be parked in Stevens Creek Crossing. And I wondered, I know that this was just a get acquainted meeting, and we weren't going to
No, I
bring
can
that up,
address,
but I'm wondering if the door is now open to have that maybe more sensitive
addressed.
conversation about it.
It was addressed, and he brought it up, actually.
Ah,
We did
okay,
not
what do we
bring it up.
know?
We know that they are not part of Stevens Creek. The problem that they have is that when and it's the same problem around all the various buildings where people get housed, where homeless people get housed. Sometimes the posse, he called it, their posse will show up as well. So it's not part of Stevens Creek, and the cars don't belong to residents of Stevens Creek. It's just a problem that happens when you house formerly homeless people. So they are
Okay.
they're just as upset about it as everyone else.
So how does Public Safety Committee want to proceed then with the problem of those vehicles on California? Is there something that we can do?
Is there,
Yeah,
is
outside
this
the
a
meeting,
conversation
outside the
that we
meeting.
should be having right now? I mean, considering that we're
No,
actually
we
getting
should
a
not
report.
have it now.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank
All right, but duly noted.
Anyway,
Okay,
I just want to end with, it was a very wonderful conversation, and I look forward to working more with Nasser and other staff members there.
great. That's awesome. I think, and I just want to commend everybody as far as what we're building the relationships with the folks at Stevens Creek Crossing, be it with the home forward side, or be it with the neighborhood house side, or be it with the management, so it's just the idea that we're building the relationships. Now, we don't necessarily have to tackle all the problems all at once, but I think by establishing the relationship and building a communication lanes, then we can start to really tackle them. And
I want us to help them.
Back around.
I want us to help them build a garden.
I think that's a wonderful idea. Yeah. Okay. Hey, I know our secretary is not here because she is being mom somewhere. Julie Leet, our treasurer, our interim treasurer, Peter Sampson. It's your turn for report.
Great, thank you, Moses. Yeah, this is my first meeting as your new interim treasurer, and I just want to report that we are busily building a platform to do a better job of financial controls and procedures for the organization. We actually have money in the bank. We have about $8,700, which is more than more than even just a few months ago. More than half of that is due to a grant from Metro that Julie secured for her dumpster days project. But we have about $3,500 in general funds. And really, the announcement I want to make here tonight is that I want to get to work as soon as we can on building a budget. The year is almost half gone. We don't have a budget yet. In fact, it's been years since we've had a budget. The point I want to make is if you're on a committee that wants to do a special project or an event this year, then I'd like to have a conversation with you about building a budget for that event or that project. Otherwise, if you're not planning anything special in that regard, then there'll be some money allotted to your committee for general spending. You have the spending authority as far as that limit goes. It looks right now like that might be in the neighborhood of $150 that each committee would have, and the spending authority to engage those funds. But if you have special projects or events, please contact me within the next week or 10 days, and let's talk about how to build a budget for those plans. Your plans, by the way, should also include some idea for fundraising for your project. We don't have a development office. We don't have a fundraising committee. And so you'll have to get creative about ways to raise some money to support your projects. But I'm happy to help you have a conversation about how to build a budget and some how to come up with some fundraising ideas. So thanks, everyone.
A quick comment on, and that is the fact that that we're talking. I'm just so pleased. You know, we're a 501c3 now officially, and we've been that way, and we're starting to act like a good 501c3 as far as financial transparency and accountability, as far as our projects that we're doing within the neighborhood, and the scope of those, and then also where we want to think about we're going to be in 5 to 10 years and what this organization will look like in 5 to 10 years and how big it can become and what good it can do. You know, so, and this is just the first, these are the foundational steps. And I'm just pleased as punch that we're at the point where we're even talking individual committee budgets. That is thrilling to me. So, so all my board members, especially my committee chairs, let's work on that. And I'm happy to help as well. Okay. All right. Next, budget and finance. Let's get into budget and finance with Tad, our chair of the finance committee.
I am not chair of that committee.
Is that did I get it? Oh, is it Peter now?
Or Corinne. One of
Yeah,
them.
there's actually no chair for that committee right now, but you have
Okay,
a
do we-
treasurer.
We do have a treasurer. That's true. That's true. Okay,
You
so
know,
I guess
I submitted a written report that includes, well, I call it the finance report. It's a combination of the treasurer's report, the officer on the board, who is responsible for financial integrity, and the budget and finance committee. So it's kind of a combined report, and you can see that posted in the meeting materials.
okay, very good. Very good. Okay, then let's go keep on going down the list here. Next up, Will, let's talk communications.
Sure thing. Communications does not have a committee because the rules say you have to have 2 members on the committee, and I'm the only member. But that I think will surely be, or shortly be changed, because Manny Frischberg, one of the people who was interested in the CAC, has a communications background, and he can be dragooned, and he's interested in working in the communications committee. So we will have more official standing than we have now. That said, what we are working on or I am working on, is getting together a coordinated approach to communications, which we really haven't had. We have 3 people that post generally to the website. That's Corinne and Pam Fox and me. And then Julie Leet does a lot of posting to Facebook. And we don't really have a coordinated communications plan to make sure the word is getting out. So that's one of the first things we're working on right now. When Manny gets on board, we should come back next month with a more comprehensive report and go from there.
Fantastic. Okay. Yeah, and yeah, exactly. Okay, sounds good. Right now, and when it comes to communications right now, we have our basics, and we've been covering our basics pretty good as far as our monthly newsletter by email. We have our website, we have our social media accounts on Facebook and Instagram, and you know, we've been able to use them to promote our events. I guess what Will and I have been talking about as far as what we see the future for communications is to get some volunteers in that can help create content, because the content is key. I mean, you can do all the bells and whistles on the website or on the emails, but you have to your messaging has to be solid and consistent. And so one of the gentlemen that applied to be on the on the advisory committee, I actually asked him to help us out with communications. I looked at his background, and he's got this wonderful journalistic background and working for newspapers and such. And I said, wow, okay, so my radar immediately went up to this. And so this gentleman is Manny Frisberg. Hopefully we can connect with him. I talked to him on the phone yesterday, and we just have to set up some times to be able to figure it out. So good stuff. I don't think I have my chairs of community events or livability here tonight. Do I have, I know Pam wasn't able to make it tonight. Her and her family are out of town. I don't think Corinne is here. And I don't think Julie is here. Darn it. What would, I did put in the public meeting folder some of the upcoming events for community, for some of the events that are coming up. We do have we just got done doing the first Friday. We have the Village Park that was named that is right next door to Healthy Pets Northwest.
I have
That park.
about that,
Okay.
if I may.
So, sure, in just a second. Yeah, go ahead, Beth. Go ahead. What's your question, please?
Is that an official park? And if it's named a park, is the city required to, are we required to contact the city about it? I'm
You're
just
asking
throwing
me.
that out there. I don't
All
need
right,
an
that's a good.
answer.
Okay. Well, you've asked a question. It usually demands an answer.
No,
I
because
I don't believe. Yeah, I don't.
I'm not
don't.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot, is what I'm saying.
Okay, well, you did, darn it. But what I will say is that I don't know if it's a city park. No, it's not a city park. It's the property is owned privately. Yeah, I would if Corinne was here, she'd be able to give you the full details. I don't mean to be stammering my answer
Okay.
here.
I'll
Yeah.
wait.
Okay, sounds good. I appreciate that. So anyhow, that information, and then of course the website. If you go to our website, mnapdx.org, all of the upcoming events are listed there. I do want to put it on everybody's radar, Multnomah Days in August. To block out, if you want to participate volunteering, we're going to be doing the parade again this year. So we'll need people on the parade committee. There's going to be lots of opportunity for you to get involved with Multnomah Days. All right, let's talk equity. Equity is next. Will, you're back up again, please.
Moses, you have a hand up. There's a
Yeah.
hand up.
Who knows? Who's up?
Penny
Oh,
Welch.
I see it. Okay, Penny. Yeah, hi. Go ahead, Penny.
Hi. Okay, very briefly, this is back on communications. And sorry, I was wondering if it would be helpful for communication purposes to have a computer at the end of the table where the in-person meeting guests come and have a Zoom person there or camera there so that those people could participate when they have something to say. They could speak into the computer as each of us speaks into our Zoom and computer at this point. Would that be helpful? And is there maybe, Will, an extra computer available that could be down at the meeting space for those people at the end of the table?
Well, to answer my point, there is a second microphone for the people to speak into. There has been, Moses has turned his computer around at the end of the table occasionally so you can see people. It's not the same as focusing in on a person where you had a camera with a zoom so you could see the face rather than some little thing in the far distance. You see down, there's somebody down at the end, but I'm not sure who they are. Right now, they do have a microphone available so they can be heard, which is important.
Yes, okay, and the hearing is the most important. Okay, good, thank you.
Okay,
Good
any
suggestion.
others along that?
And you know, and there is I wish we could, duly noted though on the question of another camera, the current camera is set up on my laptop, and so when it is turned around to see the rest of the crowd, they seem like they're in the distance a little bit. A second camera or something, a second computer setup like that would allow for it to be a little bit closer and not be so distant. I'll have to work on that. We'll have to work on that. Okay, let's go ahead and go do your equity report, sir.
Okay, well, very briefly, we have a written equity report in the meeting materials, so I won't go over all the points. I'll name what the four areas we're working on right now. One is about the Community Advisory Committee beginning its work, because that is an equity type issue where I want to emphasize what Beth had just said about what our position is on the Safe Rest Village, which is we are neither for nor against it. We have never made a statement about the Safe Rest Village to keep us as much possible a neutral party to represent the whole neighborhood. But we do want to have a successful good neighbor agreement about the Safe Rest Village so that we're as much as possible have a good relationship with protecting the people and helping the people around it, the people in the neighborhood, as well as the people in the Safe Rest Village. This is something that was brought to us without our say-so, and we are basically, in a nutshell, we got a hand dealt to us, and we're playing the cards we're dealt with as good a good neighbor agreement and relationship as we can have. And the Community Advisory Committee, our delegation to the Community Advisory Committee, is our point group for helping the good neighbor agreement succeed. That's one of the issues that's at. We do have on racial equity, we reached out to NAIA for a possible land acknowledgement to be read at the beginning of each meeting, such as the Southwest Equity Committee does. And we are referring one that they sent us to the Governance Committee to see whether that would be an appropriate thing to add to our meetings. The text of the land acknowledgement is on the website, and we are quite sensitive to, as an organization which does not have representations of indigenous people on it, that we are respectful and have consulted and treat the whole process as something where we are being led by rather than imposing on people the acknowledgement to the land that we're on. We have one thing I want to focus on, as we have talked about how our approach to equity is really something that is a neighborly approach. If you read our equity statement, we talk about equity, diversity, inclusion, and accessibility as areas which should be a natural extension of being a good neighbor. What does it mean to be a good neighbor to people who have been treated badly because of history of and continuing maltreatment because of their ethnicity, their sexual orientation, their age, and so on, the various things that happen to people who are getting especially vulnerable? How do we integrate that sort of person into the overall thing in a meaningful way? So we have some operating principles we're working on, and this is just a starting point. I'd like to share, and this is again also on the meeting materials site, but there are three quotations and three principles that guide what we do. And what we're doing is really helping change the culture of the neighborhood association to really be inclusive and equitable and open and accessible. But these are the guidelines. There are three quotations. There's three areas: understanding, feeling, liberating. For understanding is a quote from Stephen Covey, Habit 5 of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Seek first to understand, then be understood. On feelings, Maya Angelou has a quote. I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget even what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And finally, liberation or liberating. This is a woman, Lila Watson, who is an Australian Aboriginal activist who actually doesn't give herself the credit. It's to the group of people she's works with that are approached by missionaries and social workers and so on to, quote, help the Aborigine. She says, if you've come here to help us, you're wasting your time. But if you've come because your liberation is bound up in ours, then let's talk. And so we're trying to develop an attitude and a position of a orientation that allows us to become truly representative, not just in numbers, but in the way we conduct our business, so that every neighbor in the neighborhood comes and feels and is fully included and takes part. There'll be more on that. We'll be building on those areas. Again, the report is on the website, and stay tuned. We've got some more stuff coming.
Bravo,
Anything?
Will. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Will. Okay, up next, governance, the governance committee. Tad, you do chair this one. I know that.
Yes, I can't deny that. The the governance committee, formerly known as the Standing Rules Committee, but we refer to ourselves as the rule mongers, has been very active developing a procedure manual for the organization, which is a way of consolidating all of the motions that are approved in these meetings, and developing procedures for how to do things, such as when we developed election procedures last fall. A question concerning procedures, Mr. President, our secretary is missing. Is somebody else taking minutes tonight?
Rely on the video recording of this and have her respond and have her summarize it from that, unfortunately. I wasn't expecting Julie to not be here tonight,
Okay,
so something must have come up.
all right. I do have a motion to make. It's listed under new business. Would you prefer I bring up my motion then or present it now?
Go ahead and get through the rest of the reports, and then we can bring it up into new business and you can make it official then, or present it then.
Okay.
Okay.
Another observation, the meeting minutes are now presented in the meeting chat, but we have not taken time to approve those minutes. And that wasn't on last month's agenda either. So both the April and May minutes are yet to be approved.
I'm seeing your note right here. What are we going to do? Let me get through my committee reports and then I can circle back around to that place. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Sounds good. Got to take care of fundamentals like approving minutes. Darn it. Okay. So, Beth Omansky, you're up next with land public safety, and I don't know if Stefan is here for transportation. So those will be the final two committees.
Did you say land use? You broke up.
Yes, ma'am. Land use. Go ahead.
We have a land use committee. We have two members on our land use committee. And Mia Bonadonna is our new member, and I'm so happy to be working with her. And we are presenting a motion tonight. And you have that in front of you, Moses, regarding the Nevada Street, 27th and Nevada Street.
Yes, Beth, I do, but I'm wondering, it's the same situation that we had just now with Tad. If we need to do the motion itself under new business, and
Okay.
and the motion itself is in the public meeting, is in the public folder. You're welcome to introduce it right now, but the actual vote for it won't be, we'll just be introducing it a second time when we actually make the motion vote and we have that vote. Does that make
We
sense?
usually do our motions as part of our committee report, so I got a little confused about that, but I'm fine doing it however you want.
Business besides the motion?
I'm sorry? Well, you
Was
said
there
you
a-
wanted to do business, so let's do that under new business.
Okay, sounds good. Was
Okay.
was there any other things to report for land use besides the motion?
No, just that we have a committee and we'll be working together, and this is our first project.
Fantastic. You know, Mia is here at the meeting also, and she brought copies of the letter from the residents. So when we get to that under new business, we'll certainly expand on it before the vote.
Yeah, she'll be speaking to that for us.
Perfect. Okay. All right. Let's close the door on land use and talk about public safety then.
We have no public safety committee because Jane is not with us anymore.
Okay, we're gonna have to work on that for the next month. We'll work on that, getting you some new members. I think, you know, and I think we're having that same problem with a couple of the committees like communications. I think that the chair needs to be the default member on all of these to make sure that they are active and doing their thing.
Well, you know my situation with that. So
Yeah, we'll talk further about that for sure.
that
Okay,
sounds good.
yeah,
Close it.
okay. And last but not least, we have transportation, and our chair Stefan is not here. One of the challenges of having volunteers that have families, the school is almost out, if not out right now, isn't it? So a lot of folks are going on vacay and doing things. All righty, so let's just go straight into new business. Oh, and guess who just came into the meeting? Stefan, I love it. He knew his ears were burning. I'll give him a second to get situated here. Stefan McLandrich, sir, you
Hey,
don't
how's
mean
it
to put-
going?
Good. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but we literally are at the Transportation Committee report.
What luck. Okay. Hey, so I've got some interesting developments on 35th and Multnomah. As you know, since we last met, Fixing Our Streets 3 passed. And because of that, they're looking for projects to fund. And 35th and Multnomah is in the running. I did get some people at PBOT that suggested it's an important project and they're going to find funding for it somehow or another. It may not get Fixing Our Streets funding, but it could get the PSEF funding, which is the Portland Clean Energy funding. Apparently, there's about $19 million that's going to get spread around on projects that encourage active transportation as a small piece that Portland wants to do to help fight climate change. And on top of that, we did get a letter of support for our M&A letter to PBOT from the Maplewood bike bus that meets at 35th and Multnomah, right where we want intersection improvements. They meet there every Friday to ride to Maplewood. And not only did they send a letter of support in, but invited Director Millicent Williams to come join them. And this Friday, the director is planning on coming out and joining the Maplewood bike bus. So I will be able to meet with her and to talk her through the intersection and why we think it's worthy of getting a makeover. And then she's going to go ride the bike bus with us, which is going to be super awesome. So that's the quick update on that front. I'm trying to think if there's some peripheral things that are going on transportation wise. The other item everybody hopefully should know, but I-5 will be closed between about Capitol Highway and Twilliger for one long weekend, a Friday evening to a Monday early morning. And that is going to be the last weekend in June. So people should just plan around that and make sure you don't get caught in a massive traffic jam that's going to be on Barber. That probably will be spilling over into some of our neighborhood streets. That's all I got. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Peter, looks like you have
Oh.
your hand up.
Yeah, Stefan, can you just summarize, please, what the improvements for 35th and Multnomah include? Is there a written report on the website?
Moses, I'm not sure that that letter is on the website, but I don't see why it couldn't be. And it does have a little figure. So what we're asking for is to close the right turn lane on eastbound Multnomah onto Southwest 35th, turn that into street parking, and then improve all of the pedestrian curbs at the intersection street crossing. Essentially, daylight them is the word that people use, but essentially what that means is extend the curbs into Multnomah far enough so it doesn't encroach in on the bike lane or the travel lane, but which will add about 3 to 5 feet additional curb width so that you don't have pedestrians sort of popping out behind parked cars. It'll let the pedestrians be seen by the drivers and bicyclists that are coming down Multnomah and on 35th as well. So it's more or less just big curb extensions, which will be really nice for the visibility of pedestrians, and it'll reduce the amount of feet that a pedestrian would have to walk to get from one side to the other in the area for cars.
Great. Thanks, Stefan.
Yep.
Wait, I have a question. Of course, sorry. Stefan, do you know if they
Go ahead.
are going to put a bioswale next to those? To the intersection?
I don't believe this project would require any additional bioswales.
Okay. If they
Since
do, could you please put
Mhm.
them at least 3 feet away from the crosswalk?
Okay, yeah, I could make sure that that gets to them. I think once the project sort of, if it does get blessed with receiving funding through fixing our streets or the Portland Clean Energy Funds, then it would probably be like a year or longer that the stuff would go into design with potentially maybe 2026 construction. So yeah, there's definitely some design hurdles to tackle. Hopefully if we can get over the funding hurdles.
That'd be great. Thanks for all your work on
Yeah.
that, Stefan.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That's very exciting, actually. Good stuff, Stefan. Good, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all the committee reports. So now let's get into, and we are ahead of schedule. I love this. It's too nice of a summer night for us to be sticking around here in a meeting. We have, last but not least, our new business, and we have 2 motions that we need to talk about that are coming from committees up to for a board vote. Before we do the new business, I just want to, I just want to confirm which board members are here and make sure that we have the quorum. I know that myself, I'm the only board member that is at the in-person meeting. So everybody else, if
We have, by my count, we have 7 board members, including you, and Stefan just came in, Adrian had left, but there's me, you, Peter, Diane, Tad, Beth, and Stefan. So we have a quorum. A quorum would be 6.
Correction, I am no longer a board member.
Oh, not at all. Well, I take you off.
I was only a board member as treasurer.
Treasurer, that's right.
I'm sorry, I thought you were put back on as parliamentarian and in other words, a board member, but not an officer and not a committee chair. Is that wrong?
There's been no motion to that effect. So technically, no.
Well, I'm
Or
not
do
sure.
we still have do we still have a quorum without?
Still have a quorum. If we have 6, that's 6 out of 10.
Okay, well, that's fantastic then. Well, let's resolve the situation with Tad and his
Yeah.
board member / officer status in time for next meeting. And let's go ahead with the new business then. If we have the 6 that are board members and we still have a quorum, we have two motions that we need to resolve. The first motion is from the Public Safety Committee, and Mia and Beth Omansky have been working on this.
That's not from
here-
public safety. It's from land use, not public
Oh,
safety.
pardon me. Okay, pardon me. Land use. Okay, so let me give the microphone to Mia so that she can chat about this letter and go from there.
You. So I just want to point out that I'm here with another neighbor, Kelly Peterson, who's been really instrumental in organizing neighbors around turning a lot at 2710 Southwest Nevada Court, which is currently a Water Bureau property, into a park. So there's two of us here. And I was here last month and I spoke about this quite a bit. Since that time, we have, I should go back just a step. In March, we were informed by the city that that lot would be put up for sale and that there was a 2-month comment period available to residents where we could submit comments about what we would like to happen with that lot to the Parks Department and the Water Bureau. Many neighbors did, and at the end of that period, we submitted a letter to neighbors. I believe we distributed 150 letters, 80 neighbors signed on to the letter. That letter is included in your meeting materials tonight. The letter is essentially asking the city to give neighbors the first right of refusal to buy this property so that we can turn it into a park. We came to that decision after the Parks Department in very clear terms told us that Southwest has been deprioritized for parks, and that there's no way at all that they will support turning that lot into a park. We do have an angel buyer who is willing to buy that property. We're currently waiting for the Water Bureau's decision about whether or not they will give neighbors the first right of refusal. So tonight, the motion is essentially going to ask that MNA support us in our effort in just convincing the water department and the city council to give us the first right of refusal so we can buy this property. We've listed many, many reasons why this particular spot is really important to us. Everything ranging from like safety issues during ice storms, to tree canopy reduction, to the fact that it would not be zoned for any affordable housing. We cite the fact that our neighborhood is pretty boxed in without sidewalks and access to other parks, and that there's going to be a significant influx of 2, 3, and 4 bedroom houses within 1 block or less of the closest park. So it's not going to really meet the needs of the community within a very short period of time. Both of those projects are already underway. I think there's going to be 58 to 60 units total. So it's a lot of people. And we just don't think it's going to, do the trick anymore. Please let me know if you have any questions. Is there anything that you want to add, Kelly?
The only thing I was going to say is, so we're waiting for a notice from the water department if they still want to proceed, which we anticipate they will. This will be an issue up before Portland City Council, and it will be deemed at that point with the vote as surplus, and then they will list the property for sale. And I think that's the step we're waiting for. They have the comment period ended June 4th, and they have to wait 2 weeks or later before they would post it before Portland City Council. And that's it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Very good. What I'm doing right now for my folks in person, I'm trying to bring up the actual motion itself.
Thank you.
Oh, here we are. Come here. Oh, here it is. I labeled it correctly in the folder that it's from the Land Use Committee. And let me open this up. Frustrating. 20 seconds, guys. I apologize. Okay, here we go. So the motion on the floor then for the vote of the board is the M&A Land Use Committee presents the following motion for board approval. The Multnomah Neighborhood Association Board of Directors urges the Portland City Council, Portland Water Bureau, and Portland Parks and Recreation to grant the first right of refusal to neighbors for the purchase of the decommissioned water tank lot at 2710 Southwest Nevada Court in Portland, 97219. So we have a motion that has been made from the board. It's from a committee, does not require a second. So we have is there any discussion amongst the board members about the motion? Any questions or any thoughts that they would like to make? Or comments or questions about the motion itself?
Does the motion need to specifically say which neighbors? It just says neighbors.
Let me double check and say. You grant the first right of refusal to neighbors. And what are you suggesting then, Diane? What are you saying? Asking? Say that again.
Just wondering if it should be like specific neighbors of this area or something like that. Instead of just saying neighbors. If it's not necessary, that's fine. I was just curious.
I think that's actually, I would consider something like that a Scrivener's error in the sense of trying to really define who those neighbors are. I think for the purpose of the motion, I think we can get away with it being less specific. Oh boy, that's a good one. Tad, as our parliamentarian.
Yes.
Is it appropriate for us to better define this motion? Or how would that look? The first right of refusal to adjacent neighbors? How would?
I'm sorry, I
would
don't have that in front of me.
Mhm.
Is that in the material folder?
Yeah, it is. And here, I'll share my screen too, so you can see it here.
Okay.
And so what we've got is, what we're trying to do here is better define who the first right of refusal is going to. And I'm assuming that the angel that Mia was speaking of, this is a concerted effort of adjacent neighbors.
She's the direct neighbor.
Direct neighbor, right.
Side of the property.
Would you feel that by adding the word adjacent in front of, so it reads to grant the first right of refusal to adjacent neighbors would be
I
of
think
benefit in this motion?
If 80 people have signed on to the petition, they're not all adjacent, are they? They're just affected.
I kind of have to agree that it's a good point there, Beth. The people on that letter are not adjacent, but I think we could be safe by, go ahead, Ted, go ahead.
Those names are just in support of the motion, not actually planning on being among the purchasers, are they?
They're not the purchasers, but, well, I'm sorry, Mia, you can, or Kelly, you can answer that.
No, they're not the purchasers, but they did sign on the letter with the knowledge that we have an angel buyer who just happens to
But
be
did you
adjacent.
go door to door? It's the neighborhood around, the surrounding neighborhood,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yes.
Moses,
You
to
know what?
answer your question, I think it is appropriate to add the word adjacent there. It's pretty clear that that's implied, but for the sake of a motion that can't be challenged later on, adding the word adjacent is a very good idea.
Okay, sounds good.
Can we
So I'm
say-
going to consider this. Go ahead, Beth.
Can we affected instead of adjacent?
What was your comment? Say that again.
Can we say affected instead of adjacent? Because the people who signed the petition may not live exactly next door. Like, it's not, when you say adjacent, doesn't that mean like right around that whole
Okay,
area?
now, and then yes, you're
ahead.
right, Beth. That's okay for the suggestion, adjacent. Now, I've also got another one from somebody here in the room. Go ahead. What was that again? The word surrounding neighbors,
Or immediate neighbors?
immediate neighbors,
Nearby.
nearby
Just
neighbors.
use all of them. It's fine.
What about
Where'd you-
impacted?
Right. Okay, so I'm going to make an administrative call here. I like the word surrounding neighbors personally. I like that.
I
The
like that.
surrounding neighbors. Yeah, it's broad but specific.
I'd be in favor of
Of
that.
course. Okay, and then Kelly, go
Oh,
ahead.
I was just going to add the reason I like that because the conversations that we've had with Tom Klutz from the Water Bureau, he said that in previous situations, surrounding neighbors have come together to purchase it collectively rather than just one person. And even one neighbor purchased one to save it and turned it into a office. So I just wanted to say that there is precedent already around this. So maybe surrounding is good.
Very good. Okay, Penny, I see your hand up. Penny and Bill?
One has to be careful here of being too broad, because if you're too broad, you're missing some of the specificity that a really good lawyer will bring that out. And I'm not a lawyer, but I just know that'll be the case.
So what are you suggesting?
I'm
Which
not
word?
sure. I think that really needs to be worked on, because, like maybe we who live several blocks away in some ways might be affected by it. I walk by there sometimes with a dog. Is that the same thing, or it's not?
Right.
Mr.
I think, you know what,
President,
yes, sir. Go ahead, Ted.
this motion is just urging the city for the neighborhood association to approve this motion. Doesn't obligate anybody to anything at all. It's just,
There you go, Ted. That's right. I see what you're saying. So the concern about immediate versus surrounding. I will say this, in surrounding, when I think of the word surrounding, I think of a big swath. When I think of the word immediate neighbors, I think 1 block radius, 2 block radius. So I'm going to take my original suggestion of surrounding and replace it with immediate. And
Well, wouldn't
if
the
we go,
person,
so it would read,
this is the person making,
okay,
have to approve any amendments?
okay. So do you feel that the word immediate is not appropriate?
I'll leave that to Mia and Kelly.
Mia, Kelly, do you feel that the word immediate would be a better word than surrounding?
They're the ones that walk to the petition around, so they know
do
what
you
area
think-
they're talking about.
And I do apologize about having to go into minutia on this, but it's kind of
Good.
important. I mean, we are being pretty specific here.
No, it's good, but I leave this up to Mia and Kelly. Like I said,
Okay.
they walked around and collected the
Understood.
signatures.
And Okay, very good. Mia has the mic and she'd like to speak to it.
Um, I feel that both words work for different reasons. We did put the addresses of every single signer on the letter, and you can see that there is quite a stretch there of people that feel like they will use that as a park space. And it stretches all the way from the folks living by A Park on like 25th Street, all the way up to 30th, all the way from California and all the way over to, what's the street after Miles? Yes. Custer. So we have signatures from folks from all over that part of the community that say they will use it. So I wouldn't want to misrepresent them, but this is really just about the purchase, not about the use of the park.
Right.
So immediate neighbors for purchase, but the goal is to serve this entire swath of our neighborhood.
Of all the suggestions that people made, is there a word that you would approve of? Or would you rather that it
I would
as
use
is?
surrounding because that's what the city uses already.
Okay, done deal. That convinced me. Done. Okay. All right, yeah, that convinced me. Surrounding. If the city's already using it, there's a precedent and they know what they were talking about there. So boom. Okay. So what we've done is we've changed the motion and but through the to read the first right of refusal to surrounding neighbors for the purchase of the decommissioned water tank at 2710 Southwest Nevada Court. Okay. Is there any other discussion or pro con from board members on the meeting, on the motion? Hearing and seeing none. I do have a question
Bill
from
has his hand
another
up. I have a
board member, it
question.
looks like. Yeah. Sure, Bill. Go ahead.
So there's two things here, granting the first right of refusal. And then there's the purchase of. Now, and then in between, there's this concept of the neighbors, the surrounding neighbors of the term, whatever the term is going to be used. Does that assume that they are the only ones who are able to be involved in the purchase?
They would be the
Well-
ones who get right of refusal.
Yeah, so you get a right of refusal, but then there's the purchase part.
First right of refusal to purchase.
Yeah, again, I'm trying to think like a lawyer might think here, even though I'm not a lawyer, but sometimes I've
Thank
done
you.
this to be able to make sure that it's clear enough. It would be
Thank
good
you.
if there was some way for someone who is a lawyer, who's in the community, who could take a look at it.
Give it a lawyerly look.
Get a lawyerly look.
The motion
I-
isn't
no,
for
no.
us to purchase anything, though. The motion is just for us to urge Portland City Council to grant first right of refusal to these neighbors to do
Right.
what they want to do. So we're not purchasing anything. I don't feel we need to
No.
really, like define who is purchasing it, because that's not what we're not
Right.
purchasing it.
I would agree with that.
So, the letter is just urging the city council to, it's not saying we demand it, nothing like that.
Okay.
And we chose the word urge purposefully.
Yeah.
Do
I
you
noticed
wanna-
that
Do you
word.
want to say and grant the first, given the opportunity, or be granted the first right of refusal and give them the opportunity to purchase to the surrounding neighbors?
Go ahead, Mia. Yeah.
The motion says to grant the first right of refusal to neighbors for the purchase of the decommissioned water lot. Is that different than what we have already written? Or what you're suggesting, is it different?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I think what I do know, I think right now the challenge is that we can get really deep into the wordsmithing of this and lose the intention of what the motion is for. The motion is for giving the board the impetus to be able to back their efforts of these folks to support the spirit. It's not defining who the purchasers will be or making any obligations of the neighborhood association beyond just urging the city. So I'm going to say that the current format of the motion is appropriate for us to vote on, and we don't need to make any more wordsmithing to it. As we get deeper into this issue, further into this issue, and if we take firmer stances on who buys it, that sort of thing, then we're going to have to be much more careful. But I think we're okay with this motion. And in light of that, it sounds like we do not have any more debate on the motion, on the pros and the cons of the motion. So I am going to ask for a vote of the board to on the motion for approval or to not approve. I'm going to do this by voice vote, and we can raise if you're online. I've seen that I'm the only board member in person. We can do this online as well. And just a show of hands, or give me a yay if you're a board member, and we can do it by voice vote. So all in favor of, Peter, are you okay? Did you have a question, Peter?
No, I
saw your hand was raised.
I jumped the gun on voting.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. I should have assumed that's what it was. All those in favor of voting in favor of this motion, please say aye, raise your hand, or give me an
Aye.
Just give me 2 seconds.
Aye.
and tell me How the day went, to see your son.
Okay. And then if
Okay,
all
and
those
how's
board
he
members,
doing?
all those vote,
Is he
all
gonna
those
hold
voting.
that gun?
Lisa, can you mute? Thank you.
Okay, got it. Okay, all those in favor, all those against this motion, please say nay. Okay, the motion passes unanimously, and I thank you very much for this.
Thank you so much
Mia, thank you for presenting this, and
for having me.
Everybody.
we'll go ahead and I'll take the next steps as far as whatever letter that we need to do to accompany that.
Moses,
Fantastic. Okay,
our
last but not
committee
least.
Our committee is happy to draft a letter for you if that would be helpful.
Okay, we can talk about it more offline.
Okay, that's fine.
Next up is the final motion of the night, and this is from the governance committee. Tad, can you give us some detail about this meeting decorum rules motion?
Yes, I'll just read it as it appears in the meeting minutes material, although I'm changing a couple of words. The governance committee moves the adoption of the following rules, guidelines, and prohibitions for MNA meetings. First are rules for MNA meeting decorum. Number 1, request permission to speak. 2, when addressing the assembled, introduce yourself by name, and if in person, use a microphone. 3, address all comments to the presider of the meeting. 4, address the agenda topic at hand and avoid personal attacks. 5, the presider will allow all other participants to speak before allowing anyone to speak a second time. 6, honor the timekeeper of the meeting and your time limit for speaking. 7, understand that any meeting member may call a point of order, and the presider may declare you out of order if you do not abide by these rules. The second group is on guidelines for M&A meeting decorum. And consider the distinction between rules and guidelines. A broken rule can lead to being called out of order, but not necessarily a guideline. So guideline number 1, actively listen to others without interrupting. 2, acknowledge and value the opinions and perspectives of others. 3, treat others with respect, kindness, and empathy. The last section is on prohibitions at in-person M&A meetings. Firearms, ammunition, knives, and other weapons, whether legally permitted or not. Scented products. And finally, smoking or vaping. That's the motion.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And the prohibition of things at the M&A meetings, I have to agree with because I'm the only one here. I would not like it if somebody was smoking during this meeting. So, okay. Are there any questions from the board members, pro, con, about the motions that has come from the governance committee? These meeting decorum rules and guidelines and prohibitions. Hearing no questions, let's take this to a vote. And no second is needed because it is from a committee. All the board members that are in favor of these rules, guidelines, and prohibitions at meetings, please say yay or raise your hand. Give me an eye.
Yay.
Yay.
Hey,
Yay.
Let me see.
wonderful.
What yay?
All those against, say nay. Hearing none, voted it in by acclamation. That's wonderful. Thank you. So we now have meeting decorum rules, guidelines, and prohibited behaviors. We have a letter that has been passed from the Land Use Committee in regards to the Nevada Court Water Tower. I'm really looking forward to the future of that project. I think I drove by there the other day and finally got into my mind the schematics of that property, and it is so unique. I mean, this is the perfect opportunity for what we're trying to do here. There's no need to sell that. It just really is not. I mean, it's a perfect location for a park. And, you know, and the model is right across the street, right across Capitol Highway, the Southwest Texas Water Tower. That's a perfect park over there. I could see a complimentary one over there very easily. No, agreed. Okay, so I'm going to do one last thing and then I'm going to call this meeting adjourned. We have our next meeting. Okay, it's 8:29. God, this is perfect. I'm 1 minute early, folks. Okay, so we're getting out here at 8:30. Our next regular meeting is in July 9th. We're going to have somebody from Habitat from Humanity at it, giving us an update on the housing program, the housing projects that they're doing over there at the Portland Church property. We'll get a report back from Nevada Court neighbors as far as what's been happening with that. We will have what else is coming up? We'll have our committee events chair here. So and there are so many events coming up. Go look at the website under events, community events, and you can see some of the things that we have coming up this summer that we can use all sorts of volunteer help with. And then, we'll report back on our very first, I don't know if the CAC meeting will be finished in time, but we'll have our new members up to speed. And ready to start working on that responsibility. Yeah, I'll make sure that Jenny gets out a good week ahead of time, and we'll keep everybody up to date with the Multnomah Messenger email. So please look for emails from us. And I would love to.
We won't have the Civic Opportunities Bulletin anymore.
That's right. And we'll have to talk about that. I want to talk about that in a newsletter, in part of our newsletter too, to let everybody know. But we now have, I'm happy to take a motion to adjourn. Would somebody give me
one other thing, please? Moses?
Yes, go ahead, Ted.
We're not approving minutes tonight. And as I said, the April and May minutes stand unapproved. I want to make a couple observations about the May minutes, and so it's recorded here for the secretary. The May minutes state that 7 board members were present, but doesn't name them. I would ask that they be named. Also, there are several motions were passed at that meeting. I'm best acquainted with those presented by the Standing Rules Committee, and I can see that the language in these minutes is a paraphrase of the motions that were presented in writing for the meeting. I would ask that these paraphrases be replaced with the language that was actually approved at the meeting. That is, copy and paste the language that was submitted in writing.
Okay, very good. It's been recorded for posterity. Julie, you're on notice. You're not here, so you can't defend yourself, but I'll make sure. I'll circle around. I'll circle.
We'll have a standing rule about this, right?
We'll tackle that at the next Standing Rules Committee meeting. I'd like to let everybody go home now. So we'll adjourn this meeting, and thank you very much for being here tonight. All right, sounds good, everyone. Good night. Thank you.